Well, so the old Lumina needed some maintenance this morning. Got a few things I'm going to be doing to it, but first I'm replacing the O2 sensor. It failed emissions testing, and it's got a new CAD on it. It's also got a brand new EGR valve, which the previous owner was the one who put this stuff on. It failed on the nitrogen oxide portion of the test at 25 miles an hour, which leads me to believe that it's running a little lean, and the emissions probe picked up on that. So the only thing that would make sense to change as far as, all this stuff is concerned is the O2 sensor, which is buried all the way down there. I don't even know if you guys can see it. In fact, I don't think you can, but right in that hole right there is where it's buried. And in order to gain access there, I had to pull that little guy up and move this block here. It's an electrical piece. I don't know what it's called, some sort of vacuum actuator or something, because there's a vacuum line going to it. And was able to move that out of the way. And very carefully and slightly painfully, I was able to get my arm back there with my Harbor Freight 7/8 inch O2 sensor socket, and was able to break the old one free, which is now sitting right here. So here's the new one. And before I do this, I'm going to do a couple things. One, I'm going to connect up the new one to the electrical connector on the other side, as well as put this on the end so I don't lose it. So you guys can see I've got my mechanical fingers right there. So I'm just going to pull up this tab and pull the connector off and throw the new one on and route the new one over under there. So I've got the new one installed now, and I'm just going to kind of run it the same way that this one is, back up underneath, and we should be good to go. And so this is where I'm at now. I just got it all cinched in, tightened up. And of course I just dropped the damn socket on it because it doesn't have a little locking feature on it. So I gotta stick my arm back down there, get that thing out. And there we have that. So now I just have to zip tie that little box right there back up and throw this little mounting bracket back through it like that, and this part should be done. I'm going to make an assumption that this thing was replaced before. I don't know when, but it is a Denso. I don't know if GM put Denso O2 sensors in their cars at this time. I would have thought they were AC Delco, but could be wrong about that. But it does look a little old, so changing it out, we'll see what happens. So now I'm going to be doing some replacing the Serpentine belt. I'm doing this for two reasons. The first one is this one is a little worn out, and the second reason is I'm actually going to be bypassing the AC compressor. Whenever I want to use the defroster in the car, it always wants to cycle the AC compressor, which there's a leak in the system. There's really no refrigerant in it, and there's really no point in using the AC compressor because I don't really plan on fixing the system. But I am going to go ahead and bypass it because it does rob a little bit of the engine power to run that compressor. And there's no sense in running it if it's not even working correctly. So I've got to take this bracket off. That has a belt cover on it. So in order to do this, you have to get a breaker bar and get it into the bottom of the pulley, which is right here, and pull back on it. That relieves the tension on the entire tensioner, and you're able to lift the belt off. Unfortunately, this is not the best angle for a camera, but it is a good thing because this is not a complicated process. And I do have a breaker bar ratchets on it. Here's my breaker bar, and just lift back like so, and the whole thing comes off really easily. So here's the old belt. So now I'm just going to turn the car on and we'll make sure everything's working all right. Looks good to me. And I'm in the interior, and this old trim piece here is a little worse for wear. It's missing tabs on the inside. I've kind of got it jury-rigged to get it to stick in place, and even the prior owner stuck a drywall screw through the end of it right there. I am going to keep the AC vents out of it because those are getting harder to find, and it's very common on any early American car that plastic bits like that like to break and, you know, cease functioning properly. So while I was at the auto wrecker, I was looking for a new one of these. This is the headlight control unit, and mine here wants to act up a lot. You guys, it might not do it right now, but it's been acting up where it'll turn the parking lights on, but it won't turn the headlights on. And half the time it'll work, half the time it won't. And it's because the little ratchet in there doesn't want to lock it in place like this. So this one definitely seems to be a little bit more functional. Though this one is, yeah, as you guys can see, it just did it. See how it keeps popping out? That's the problem I'm having with it. It only wants to stay in, I don't know, half the time. It's very aggravating. So, it's pretty simple to remove all this. And before I get too far ahead of myself, make sure you crack open a Mickey's and have a swig. And there we have that. So now I just need to pull this out, because I'm already going to be here. And I need to glue this back up somehow. In fact, I'll get some silicone, work on this as well. It definitely needs it. But first, I just have to remove this single bolt, and we'll be on our way. And it's simple enough to remove. Let's grab the new used one. And stick the connectors back in. And that one works. And stick the small connector back on. Awesome. So, just got to throw the bolt back into that, and then I'll get to fixing up this part. Well, this is far from the last time that I've had to give anything the silicone treatment, but it's simple enough. Well, the Lumina had quite a bit of work done on it today. This is the redneck method I'm using to keep the silicone up. And I still need to do the bottom part as well, but this was the worst part of it. And unfortunately, the two trim pieces that I got for this car from the junkyard were the wrong size. Now, I got those other two faux wood trim pieces from the same car that I got that one from. And all of those pieces were from a coupe version of a Lumina, same year and everything, but for some reason those wood ones only come out to here. So I don't know why there's all this extra space here on this particular door, but that's just the way it is. So unfortunately I wasn't able to throw those on. However, I was able to get this one bolted on, and it does look a little bit better. I did have to reuse that drywall screw up here. Again, unfortunately, with these older, GM or American cars, they didn't exactly make them with quality in mind back then. They really didn't. And I hate to say that because, everything else about a lot of the American cars, they were fairly solid, fairly reliable as far as the drivetrains go. But just, interior-wise and, you know, build quality wise, they weren't really all that up to par compared to the imports, Japanese imports at the time. It's not to say that they're not bad cars, because again, you get anything cheap enough, it's good enough for me at least. But as far as all that's concerned, this car's got a new Serpentine belt, it's got a new O2 sensor, and it's got a little bit of new trim, as well as that headlight switch in it right now. So I'm kind of happy with all the different stuff that I've gotten done on this thing today, to be honest. So it's almost ready to be sold. I will be selling this car eventually, hopefully and more than likely at a profit, but I'm not really too sure when that's going to be. I know it's going to be before I pick up the new house, or, you know, move into the new house. And the Ranger is going to be basically my primary vehicle source of transportation, and then I'm going to have a motorcycle. So not going to be too different, just not going to really have the room. In fact, I'll be storing the motorcycle inside of the house, to be honest. But other than that, boys, hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know a lot of you guys like to see a lot of the different doings that I'm up to, and that's about it. So until tomorrow, you guys all stay classy.